2 p.m. today, we will begin distributions for food and water. We will announce those locations at 12 today while we make those final preparations. 1 day supply of water and food will be available to households. The sites are designed to drive through, but walk-ups will be accommodated. Site locations will be open at 2 and stay open until supplies last. We'll confirm those sites again at 12. We are planning to continue site operations in the coming days with expanded hours and available supplies. We are aware that many in our community cannot make it to the distribution sites, and we're working to develop a mobile distribution plan.
Okay.
Moving on to shelters. Shelters are at capacity, and we are working to stand up an additional location. We want to clarify that those shelters only provide overnight lodging, food, and water. FEMA is not at these locations. This is basic necessities only. We have many people who want to contribute to the Helene response. If you have donations, equipment, or have questions about specific needs, please email helenedonations@buncombecounty.org. If you want to volunteer, please email helenevolunteers@buncombecounty.org. It is important that we coordinate donations to better meet the need of our communities most affected by Helene. We also know that cellular service is key to easing the hearts of our loved ones. We are pleased to share, as a provisional solution, the city of Asheville has partnered with Verizon to establish a temporary satellite cell tower in the parking lot of 35 Woodfin Street. This tower will offer the opportunity for limited cellular reception within several blocks of the city where it is parked. We also know there's a question about going door to door in places like Asheville Housing Authority. Yesterday, we got confirmation that our community paramedics have been distributing bottles of water to residents in those areas to help fill needs ahead of a large-scale distribution. I know we have a lot of people tuning in nationally to these briefings. We love our community, who love our community like we do. We know you want to help, but please do not come here. We do not have water and we do not have power across the county, most of the county. The roads are still incredibly dangerous, and we simply cannot accommodate people. If you want to support financially, email helenedonations@buncombecounty.org. If you're local, you can email helenevolunteers@buncombecounty.org. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, we will ask Drew to speak, please.
Yep. I'm Drew Reisinger, the Buncombe County Register of Deeds. My office has been taking on a unique task of standing up a family assistance center at the Register of Deeds office. We're assisting with locating loved ones of people from outside the community or even inside the community who can't find their loved ones. So we've had 11,000 requests from people who are trying to get in touch with their loved ones. With cell phone reception being spotty at best, most people just can't get in touch with their family. And so that's why we're trying to create a list of people who need to have a wellness check. We've narrowed down that list to 150 priority households, people who need medical help, people who are elderly or insulin or medically dependent. And so those are the doors we're trying to knock on. These are lower risk doors. We're trying to alleviate some of the needs from EMS and the search crews. So these are lower risk door knocks. But our goal is to try and get more volunteers to help knock on doors of people who might need it. Because gas is an issue, today we've got, and because this is Asheville, we've got a bike brigade going out, which is kind of cute, biking out to houses to knock on doors of people who need help. So that's what we're working on right now. There's electricity and Wi-Fi at the Register of Deeds office. And if you would like to volunteer, come stop by between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Drew. Sheriff Miller?
Thank you. First, I'd like to send my condolences to Macon County Sheriff's Office. We lost a deputy in the storm response. Next, I want to let people know we have additional deputies from other counties to include the Sheriff Bobby Kimbrough from Forsyth County here, not coming, but they're here already to support our local efforts. Our guys here have been working hard nonstop since the start of this storm, both in the community and in the detention center. We also have additional support from the SBI to help with the recovery of our loved ones who we've lost from this storm. Today, we can confirm 35 losses of life in Buncombe County. Devastation does not even begin to describe how we feel, but my teams will be continuing to help in recovery. We are also supporting wellness checks on individuals, and we appreciate the work that the Register of Deeds is doing to support people connected with their loved ones. I'd just like to add also, I want to add, please do not provide misinformation to our staff, as this is delaying our response. So again, I just ask that you continue to help us as we move forward in this tragedy. And we again ask for your help. We also know that we must work together. One Buncombe.
Thank you. That concludes the update portion of the briefing. I will now open it up to members of the media to ask questions. You can either unmute yourself or you can type your question into the chat. I see you, Gracie.
I have a question. Yeah, thanks. How are you prioritizing these? Can you hear me okay? Sorry. How are you prioritizing certain people, certain areas maybe that don't have the ability to get to distribution sites? So you're going to be reaching them with those?
Yes, we're working on a mobile deployment team that can get to those places that cannot get out. We know that some residents don't have transportation and can't get to the sites. So we're working on a mobile team that can go out and help get water to those residents, yes. And as Drew mentioned, we prioritize people that are doing low-level door knocks that we know people are worried about. They might have insulin dependence or some other medical need that can't get to us. So we have that list. We started that list already that we can try to reach out and get people connected to what they need.
Hi, it's Laura Lee at Blue Ridge Public Radio. Can you hear me?
We gotcha.
Wanted to ask about the quantity of supplies at these distribution centers. Can you give us a sense of the scale? You said it will be until supplies run out. Do we have an estimate of how many people will be able to be served before that would be the case?
I don't have an estimate, but we have tractor trailers of water. We did receive that shipment of water that we've been waiting on for several days now. We did receive 3 tractor trailer of water. So we're going to start distributing that water today. We also have a contract with a private provider of water, and people would get that. That's supposed to come in later tonight, and then we can get that stood up. So we intend to continue it. It might not be the first wave to serve every person, but there will be continuous water coming into our community. We now have a stream of water coming in, so we can be more dependable in telling people to come. And if we run out the first time, they can come again because we know that there'll be more water coming.
And to follow up on that, Avril, it's to start with, it's 1 day's worth of food and water for every member of your household.
Yes, and this, when you say 1 day's water, the industry standard is 3 gallons of water per person. So that's what we intend to give this first distribution is what we intend to give that out. And then the next level of water that we will receive would be from water tankers. So as they come in, people can bring their own jugs and get water. So that will be the next wave that we will see coming into our community.
Hey, this is John Boyle from Asheville Watchdog. I have 2 questions for you. On Sheriff Miller, on the 35 deaths, is there any breakdown on as far as how these happens, if this was people caught in cars or in their homes? And a second question would be for Mrs. Pender on the water distribution. I've heard some complaints about folks why this has taken so long, and I'm hoping you can explain that a little bit.
So first, John, there is, at this point, no breakdown as far as how, these occurrences happen. So you could imagine the devastation is there. So in some cases, we may not even be able to determine. So I want to put that in, put that out there.
Okay, thank you.
John, to your question on why it's taking so long for water, we requested water even before the storm started. Because we knew that, not that it was gonna fail, but we were asking for water so that people can have extra. We were asking for food, we were asking for anything because we felt that some people are gonna be cut off because of how much rain was coming. The way it works in North Carolina, you request through your state to bring those supplies in through FEMA. So we requested that and it did just arrive today.
It's Laura Lee with Blue Ridge Public Radio again. I have a question about the detention center. We're getting some reports of really dire conditions there. What can you tell us about the condition of the people in that facility?
So I'm not sure of the information you're receiving, but I will assure you that the detention center is up and running. We have made adjustments, meaning we brought in porta johns. We have water coming there. They now have power. So we're doing fine at the detention center at this point.
Hi, this is Andy Rose with CNN. Governor Cooper and the FEMA director are going to be in the area
Have there been any
today.
deaths at the detention center?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, can you
Andy,
follow
go
up? Have there
ahead.
been any deaths at the detention?
Laura, the sheriff confirmed no deaths at the detention facility. Andy, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is Andy Rose with CNN. Governor Cooper and the FEMA administrator are going to be in the area today. Are they going to be meeting with any local officials, and what message are you going to be bringing to them if they are?
They will be here today and there's gonna be a press conference at first. And yes, local elected officials and local officials have been invited to that press conference. The message that we would say is that we've been asking for water and we just getting water and it's still in low quantities. There's a large need in our community and we would like to see a different response from our state partners, a better response from our state partners. That would be the message from the staff's perspective. And this afternoon, we would have our elected officials with us. And I have not asked them what their response would be, but from a staff's perspective, our response would be clearly, we've been asking, we've been requesting, we've been following protocol since this storm began. And to this morning at 2:30 a.m. was the first delivery of water to our community.
Ms. Pender, may I follow up on that? Does the county keep any stockpile of water for these sorts of emergencies?
We do not have a county stockpile. We have a contract and we work closely with local partners, specifically Samaritan's Purse. That's who we work with closely because they're right here in our backyard. We've been able to reach out to them in any other previous emergency. The reason why we couldn't do that this time is the fact that the Swananoa River kind of made them isolated from us and we could not get to that stockpile that is in Swananoa.
Thank you.
These distribution sites that are planning to be announced at 12 o'clock, how are you announcing those and how are you letting people know who don't have power and don't have service about the distribution sites? Can you give us any idea about where they'll be in the county?
We are planning to have one in every quarter of the county, so it'll be 4 around the county. And we would try to use you guys as our media partners to get that message out. Plus, we've been using hand radio extensively, and we'll be using our hand radio to get the message out as well.
We are also planning for, some other print signage options as well to help people who are in the area for that visual.
It's Laura again. Could you talk about the capacity of the shelters, where they are, and if we're reaching capacity, what the alternative options might be?
Yes, we are reaching capacity at the existing shelters, the Ag Center and the VTech Conference Center. Those two are reaching capacity. Well, the Ag Center has its capacity. We have some more space at AB Tech. The third, we're working to be on Hendersonville Road, is where we're working to stand up our third site at the moment.
Hey, this is Will Hoffman from the Asheville Citizen Times. I have two questions. The first one, just piggybacking off of Laura Lee, is about the emergency shelters. Do shelters have consistent power right now? Any kind of way of communicating for people who maybe are, going to these shelters? And then my second question is just about the communities that might have been heavily impacted by the floods. Are these deaths concentrated in any areas in the county, any specific communities? And I was wondering if anybody could expand about where those communities are and if any outreach efforts have made it that way. I've heard that tangentially through a resident in Swannanoa that FEMA had made their way there, but I don't know if that was FEMA or just, somebody talking to me.
I can answer the question around the shelter, and I'll let Sheriff Miller respond on the deaths. The shelters do have backup generators and backup generators. So they do have consistent power at those sites. Yes.
Exactly. What was your question?
The second part of your question, Will, was, well, the question for the sheriff, are the deaths concentrated in any particular area of the county, correct?
Yeah, communities. I'd like to know the communities. Yeah.
This time we can't say any particular community. This is again very devastating. And again, I must say that efforts are coming from everywhere. We're getting it all across the county. No specific community, has identified as having more than the other at this point.
Question in the chat here. Are there any plans to set up portable toilets and making non-potable water available?
Yes. We were first working on drinking water. We're also looking at contracting for non-potable water. And we're working with suppliers to set up some, with FEMA specifically, to get some porta potties or porta johns, I think they're called, in our community. So we are working with FEMA to get that. And as someone mentioned earlier, the FEMA administrator will be in town today, and we're reaching out to, we also know that there's going to be a Region 4 FEMA person coming to our EOC today as well. And so we're trying to get those faces to put work done and not just go through a computer system. Hopefully we can talk face to face and get some more resources in our community much faster.
Ms. Pender, if I can ask one more follow-up on the water. Did you hear anything from the state as to why the delay was so long?
I believe there were 25 counties impacted in this storm. And what they're telling us is that they have to have resources for all 25 counties. And Asheville will be a distribution site, and they would use Asheville's airport to get all 25 counties served. So they're trying to manage expectations. And this is the message that we heard, is they're managing expectations to make sure they can serve all 25 counties that were impacted.
And with isolated areas or people that are cut off, are there plans in place? And how would you get water to those folks? Helicopter, or what are the plans?
We do have some specialized teams coming in and that can get to some remote places, is what their specialties is. And they also have, if there's still water there, they can do the swift water boats to get to people. But that's their specialty, is to get into remote places that they can help us deliver water. So we're utilizing our partners in that way.
And to be clear on this, are y'all coordinating all of this with the city of Asheville? Or are they participating in this?
Yes, we've been talking to the staff of the city of Asheville. We have communications with the city of Asheville staff.
And I believe that the city plans to announce some additional distribution sites at some point.
Yes, and the city will be joining us on this briefing in the evening briefing at 4 p.m.
Thank you.
Can we get a few more details about the Governor Cooper visit today?
They have not released all the details yet for the visit this afternoon, but we do know that the governor will be here with the FEMA administrator, and they will be doing a flyover helicopters to see the damage as well, so they can get situational awareness of what's going on in Western North Carolina.
It's Laura again at BPR. What happened at the Harris Center that was open as a shelter and then closed pretty quickly thereafter? Just wondering what follow-up what that is.
Right, the city did help us to shelter some folks that first day, but they're using the high-risk site for first responders, some place that they can be centrally located and they can be deployed more quickly. So that's why we moved the residents and the evacuees to a different shelter so that we can have a large space, because they bring a lot of equipment with them that they can help assist us. So we were using that as a place for first responders that came from out of town to help.
Okay, and there's some discussion among people who are looking at the projected very long timeline about water and wondering if they are better off just leaving town. Are there plans for potential evacuation or suggested evacuation if these conditions and the temporary measures, become insufficient or remain insufficient?
We have not made plans to evacuate other people, but we would take that note, and as we talk with our partners, with our city partners as well, we can start to, what would that look like and where would people go? So we would need to think through that and talk to our partners to come up with an answer on that.
Sheriff Miller, I've heard, and this is probably in the rumor department, but have heard some rumors or talk about possible looting or shots fired at places. Is any of that accurate?
To some degree, the answer to your question about looting is yes. This is why we've asked for additional law enforcement. Not only the city has additional folks that have come, to my understanding, but I can tell you from the county perspective, we have over 100 deputies now that will be here if they're not already here. And so we will be addressing the looting, and we also will address any other issues that may arise.
Have there been any home invasions or residences broken into?
I haven't heard of any home invasions. I was told that people were trying to get supplies, i.e. water, and there was some confrontations at the gas lines that we could expect. So again, some of these items and issues we plan on to address here shortly.
Thank you.
We have a question in the chat. Do you have a plan for getting the information about the distribution centers out in Spanish? And how are you planning to reach the Latino community with this information, since they may not have access to internet or phone service?
The answer is yes, we would get this information out in Spanish. We do have Spanish speakers working with us in our comms department, and they have been very diligent in getting that message out. They have connections yes, they have connections to the community, and they are working to get that message out.
The Buncombe County Family Assistance Center is also specifically sending people into the Latino community with Spanish speaking people from that community to make sure we're getting the word out of those spaces as well.
Thank you.
And additionally, we are providing this same briefing in Spanish. After we film this, we translate it into Spanish and post that on our Facebook page as well.
Thank you.
And on the Spanish Facebook page as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, here Patricia Serrano from Enlace Latina and Say. I did that question. Just in addition to that question is how where are these places that you're sending Spanish speaker people from Buncombe County to reach the community? Can you tell me what neighborhoods or what mobile trailer parks?
I think Emma seems to be there's a need in Emma from what we're hearing. We're also going to be working with our community engagement team and partners, community health workers. As those resources become available and get back online, we'll really be working with those networks to understand where the greatest need is.
Laura Lee again at BPR. Can you talk about at these distribution centers, what preparations you've made in terms of security lines? I would expect pretty massive crowds given the conditions. What sort of plans have you made around that?
Right, that's why we haven't announced the sites yet, because we don't want those lines to start forming before we're all set up. But yes, there would be a a drive-through and a walk-up opportunity that people can drive through. So it's drive-through, get your water in your trunks and you keep going, or you can walk up if you don't have that vehicle. We do have security from our sheriff's office to make sure we can control the crowd and help to make that a smooth operations for folks to get their water.
Sheriff Miller, Gracie Matisse with WLOS again. Can you give us an updated number on the unaccounted for that number as well? I know you updated the death count, and then you mentioned misinformation that you were getting. Can you just elaborate on that a little bit more as well?
First of all, let me say, I don't have the number of those who've not been able to, one, locate / identify. Second part to your question is, I don't know really how to give you, huh?
Want me to jump in on the next information?
Yes.
So Gracie, last night there was a rumor. I know the city has put out some messaging to this, but last night we had some people to show up at our fire departments in Swannanoa and notified us that the engineer had stated the dam is getting ready to breach. And we had to evacuate hundreds of people. And we had to take time away from searching and rescuing people to go and investigate if that was true. So we took several hours of our time, several hours of the city department's water department time, trying to figure out where is this coming from? Is it true? Do we have eyes on this? And what's going on? So we were sending people, trying to get through the impassable roads, as you know, trying to figure out what's going on so we can get a plan in place. And that was a hoax. It was not true. The dam is not in inanimate failure. There is nothing to that report other than being malicious. And that is why we're saying, please help us to help you. Do not come in and that was somebody that walked up to a fire department. So it wasn't an outside hoax that called. And that's why we took credibility in it, because there were people standing there in our face. So that's what we're talking about, hoax and misinformation at this point.
And please, I was using caution not to go into those details, but we do not need copycats. We're asking for our community to truly support us, because they are delaying our response with these type of actions.
One thing that could be helpful is if folks have told Buncombe County through the Assistance Center that someone is missing or that they're trying to locate them, if they could email register@buncombecounty.org and say that they have spoken with a family member, that will help us reduce the number of people we're trying to find who are in this category of not being able to reach out to their family. So as we're trying to narrow all these numbers down, we're trying to figure out where the real needs are. And that's a team effort from multiple different entities.
Hey, Drew, could you repeat that email address slowly?
Yeah, register@buncombecounty.org.
Here's a question in the chat. Can you talk more about Asheville Airport being used as a distribution site? How long has that been happening, and are other communities getting water before Buncombe?
The first flight, I believe, came in, today's Monday, yesterday. The first flight came in yesterday. My days are running together, I apologize. And the C-150 or one of those big came in, and it did have tractor trailers of water, but it was for the western region. And when it came to Buncombe County, we assumed it was for Buncombe County, but yes, it was deployed out to other communities in western North Carolina.
Okay. I don't see any additional questions in the chat. Are there additional questions from members of the media?
Yeah, it's Laura again. Wondering about provisions for people with babies. I'm thinking diapers, formula, things of that nature. Are distribution centers going to have that, or are those available somewhere else?
We have been asking for donations, and we have received some donations for babies. And yes, if you do have a baby and you need help, you can let us know that when you come to get water or anything, and we would assist you in getting some diapers. We've asked for more supplies on formula. We don't have any formula yet. We do have diapers for right now. So we are asking for babies specifically, what we can do to help our new mothers.
Sheriff Miller, one quick follow-up on looting, because I want to be responsible in the reporting. The is the number of these incidences, is it 2 or 3, 10? Could you give me an idea of how widespread it's been?
John, I really don't have an exact number for you, but when we follow up at hopefully at 4, we should be able to provide those numbers for you. And so right now I would tell you it's been 3 or 4, but don't hold me to that because I want to give you exact numbers. I don't like giving you approximates. I prefer to give you what our totals are that we can, support or substantiate.
That's fine. I just want to make sure we don't want to say something like widespread. It doesn't sound like it's widespread.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I would say my last question is, how's the prioritization of the rescue efforts going? How do you all say we're going to go to this community first and down the line?
I can do some of that for you.
Mhm.
So as you know, we divided the county into zones. And so we'll be approaching this, at the same time. We're not prioritizing one above the other, but we're going to be doing this, as we research at the same time. So I wouldn't say one ahead of another. I would tell you that our efforts are joint and that we're doing it throughout the county.
Ms. Penner, last question for you. And not to dwell on this delay in water, but Asheville is the population center of Western North Carolina. I imagine this has got to be very frustrating for you because we don't have water. I mean, a lot of the places don't. Have they offered any other further explanation of why Asheville was not at the top of the list for water?
No, sir, they have not. And you're right. This is extremely frustrating.
Thank you.
Can I ask about medical facilities, healthcare facilities, people that are in need of those things? Do we have any update on hospitals in the area or other health facilities and also long-term nursing care facilities?
I'll be on the call at 4.
The hospital will be on the call.
Potentially.
We have been trying to coordinate with the hospital to be on the call at 4:00. We don't have confirmation on that yet, but hopefully we can get those answers for you specifically to that. I will tell you that we have reached out to those nursing facilities and most of them have, no, I haven't met any that does not have a backup generator. They all have a backup generator so far. And he's been working with them to make sure they can stay in their facility by trying to get diesel fuel to them. So we have prioritized keeping them safe where they are, including the VA hospital. So those have been on our list, and we've been trying to make sure that they have the diesel they need to keep their generators going to keep those residents in place.
And I'm sorry, one last question about roads. Do you have an update on any kind of interstate openings, or is that for another agency?
Highway Patrol.
It's Highway Patrol, but they have told us I-26 is now fully open. I don't have an update on where we are with the 40 landslide.
And my last question would be, since 26 is open, are y'all encouraging private relief organizations to bring water in?
Yes, sir. Emphatically so.
Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any other questions in the chat. Well, let's wrap this briefing up, and we will be back at 4 p.m. today. We anticipate having representatives from the city of Asheville joining us at the 4 p.m. briefing. That will be broadcast through our Facebook at buncombe.gov or at buncombe.gov on Facebook, excuse me. Thanks, everyone.